As Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. So how do we balance planning with action? Let's discuss some of the dangers and then I'll share my favorite model with you. If you're new here, I'm Craig Dew and welcome to 0 to 1 million. This follows the business growth of Rev Levers and the vegan Shopify stores that we help through education-based branding. So in my experience, I don't think business owners put enough thought into planning. And so they don't think about the future strategy of where their business is actually going and take time to stop and set kind of the direction for their next steps or figure out what's holding them back so they can move forward. We get stuck in the doing kind of treadmill and we keep doing stuff without thinking about where that's leading us to. However, you've got to balance that, because if you're stuck in a planning thing where, and this is maybe where new business owners get stuck, is it's no good coming up with this 25-page business plan that's perfect because the plan's going to change as you start doing things anyway, and you're probably better off to just get started. So you've got to balance the planning with the action and make sure it works. And this is where the model comes in that we'll get to in a moment. In the beginning, if you're not taking enough action, then you're probably just procrastinating because you're scared about putting out the stuff that you're doing and getting feedback from the market, which is very important in the beginning. Later on, if you're not lifting your head up out of the kind of sand and looking around and deciding where you're going to go next, you just get stuck in the doing treadmill, and neither work very well for growing a business as big as it can possibly be. So how do we find this balance and get it right? We'll get there. So first I want to talk about a story from Atomic Habits from James Clear's book. So he found this in another book, but it talks about a photography study. And so the teacher took the class and split them into two groups. One was the quantity group. They had to take as many photos as possible during the semester. If they handed in 100 photos, they got an A, 90 photos a B, that kind of thing. So they were incentivized to do more photos. Then they had group 2, which was the quality group. All they had to do was hand in one photo at the end of the semester, but it had to be the best photo and they'd be judged on that one photo that they handed in. And the interesting thing was that all the people in the quantity group, the ones that tried to take more and more photos, got better results. And the hypothesis is basically because they spent their time taking photos, they got better through the practice of taking photos, instead of the quality group who sat around thinking about how to take the perfect photo and worrying about the composition and the lighting and everything like that. The quantity group was practicing these skills as they went along. And so that means we're better off in terms of doing, right? So we need to do more stuff and we're going to get better at it as we go along, rather than thinking about how we can get better the whole time. And I teach Kung Fu as well. And so in Kung Fu, like, you need to practice being the best you can right now. So this is what I tell my students. And so if you're a white belt or a black belt, you're going to be told the same things to do a certain type, a front kick, right? A kick to someone's groin. And so you're given the same instructions, but you can't kind of do your best version until you've practiced that a whole bunch of times. So it doesn't matter how well you teach a white belt, the way they move their body is not going to be the same as a black belt who's done the kick tons of times. Bruce Lee has a favorite famous quote. It's like, I do not fear the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. And of course, man can be substituted with person there. But basically, the more practice that you get, the more times you do something, the better you'll get at it. And so it leads towards the practice. However, if you're doing lazy practice, is another thing that you can do that also doesn't improve. And so if someone is doing Kung Fu and we have to bend our knees and have a low stance, if they do it with straight legs the whole time, they're doing lazy practice. And so it's like, oh yeah, I'll just bend my knees when it counts, when I'm being graded on it or something like that. And it doesn't work that way. You've got to practice doing it the best you can. So bending your knees the best you can. And over the years, you'll get better at bending your knees and it won't hurt so much and it'll become easier. But you've got to practice that. How do you make it a little bit better each time? And so when you're practicing or when you're doing things, you've got to decide what you're going to practice on, because you can't practice everything at the same time. So a black belt has already mastered like 5 different steps of getting the kick right, and then they're working on speed or acceleration or force, like creating more power with it, where a white belt's just trying to do it and not fall over. So you're at different levels, and as you get better through that practice, you're going to be improving by focusing on specific things. That's why, like, if you look at this video series, right, 0 to 1 million, I'm practicing making videos because I launched my first YouTube video back in 2007. So when I started this business in Spain, I started making YouTube videos, and they lasted a little while, and then I stopped doing it. And then I came back and I started again. I think it was about 2013. I can't find the videos, and I did some more. I remember the apartment I was in when I was doing them. And so, but then I stopped again. And then you can go back to the channel and there's like 2 videos there from 2021 that I haven't deleted. And I started again. And I stopped. So here we are, end of 2024, going into 2025. And what I need to practice is just posting videos. I don't need the perfect lighting. I don't need the perfect setup. I don't need perfect keyword research to get the most views or anything. I just need to film damn videos. And so I'm trying to build the habit of making videos, and that's what I'm practicing at the moment, not making the perfect video. And by practicing and doing it over and over again, I'm going to get better at making videos, and then those other components will start to come into it, where we might make, like we've chucked a thumbnail up, which we didn't have on the original videos. Little things like that we're trying to make improvement. I'm trying to think about the title tags and that, but I'm not spending a lot of time on it because it doesn't need to be perfect yet. I just need to make videos and build that habit. So what's this model that I like to use when you balance your planning versus your long time doing? So it comes from EOS, which is the entrepreneurial operating system. There's a great book called Traction by Gino Wickman, who founded this business. And he basically teaches bigger businesses how to get organized in their planning cycle. And they have a tool in there called the Vision Traction Organizer, and it splits your business into 2 parts. So it's like first bit is vision, where you're going, and traction is what you're actually doing, and it gives you a good model to follow. So on the vision side, they set a 10-year target, and that's literally 1 sentence of like, here's where we're going. This is what our target is, this is what we'd like to achieve, and it doesn't need a lot more detail than that because everything's going to change in 10 years time. Then you have a 3-year plan, which is kind of like, this is what I'd like the business to look like in 3 years, with a little bit more detail fleshed out in terms of like revenue goals and that kind of thing, or kind of checklists of would like the business to have this or this many people or this office or whatever it is. A little bit of detail so you can form a vision around it, so you're getting closer to aiming towards that. Then you come down to the traction side of things, where you look at your 1-year target. And that again is revenue goals, but with more specific annual goals of these are the things that we actually want to tick off this year. And if we do that, our business will be more successful than it was last year. And these are the major things that we want to focus on. There's not 27 of them. There's like a handful, depending on the size of your business. It might be 1 goal to 3 goals. Like I think 5 goals max is kind of their rule. And then that breaks down again into 90-day cycles. And so they talk about having 90-day cycles that you're rolling around in your business, and so called quarters, and you're setting in there again a goal, like similar goals that link into your 1-year target. So you're breaking down what you want to achieve in those 90 days in terms of revenue or profit or whatever it is. But also you have these things called rocks, which are focused effort, what's important in your business, what do you want to achieve in the next 90 days, which will improve the business. It might not be, it's not the business as usual type stuff, it's the improvement of the business. And so by using that model and working in those 90-day cycles, but still having that bigger vision that you're drawing towards, it allows you to set a direction and then focus on that for 90 days before you start changing direction or going off the rails, basically, or changing your mind and going, oh, I was going here, now I'm going here, now I'm going here, which I'm very good at doing, and most business owners are good at looking at shiny objects going, oh, like we should, oh my God, AI, we need to integrate that in our business next week because it's new and everyone needs it. It's like, well, no, how does that affect us in the years going forward? Not a knee-jerk reaction to do it right now. And in that, obviously, over those 90 days, you can be working on how do you make things better. So one of our rocks that is just finishing it on December 31st for Muhammad was to make better ads. And so In order to do that, he had the job of making 180 ads. So we figured out for how many clients we're making ads. We wanted to make 5 a week, and we added up the total and said that's 180 ads. Let's just make 5 ads a week for every client that we're working with, and that way they'll get better. And so it wasn't about publishing 5 ads, it was about making them, because that creative process is what would really get the improvement going. And then you pick from your 5, oh, these 1, 2 are really good, I want to launch those and actually test them in the market, and these 3 aren't so good, I'm getting better. So by the end, you should be making better ads. So it's thinking about doing your continuous improvement through that, and then you drill down to what are you improving in the ad as you go. So that's the kind of model that I like to use. You've got to get it right. So balancing your planning and shipping. So Seth Godin always calls it shipping. Make sure you ship the product. Common and kind of software jargon of what people talk about. And so sometimes you've just got to get something out the door and it's good enough, and then you're going to improve it later on. We've talked in previous videos about the ideal customer and that kind of thing. You've just got to pick a customer and go for it, and then maybe every 90 days you have a quarterly meeting and you discuss these kind of things. Is our customer on track? Yeah, we could change this. It might be something you change once a year as you iterate through things. I know in my life I always look back at the end of the year going, what did I like about this year? What didn't I like? What can I improve? What can I do better? And it gives me a frame to go, let's just eliminate all that crap that I don't like doing, and let's do more of the stuff I do like doing, or that was getting the best results, and do that stuff. So thinking about it like that as well. And it's also realizing that we never know the right answer. So all the planning in the world will not give us the right answer until we get feedback from the market. So we've got to do actions, get feedback, and then we see how we can improve. If we're just doing without looking up and going, well, is it working, or what's happening, or then we're not going to get anywhere either. So you've got to balance that. And you also never know if you've made the wrong choice half the time. It just doesn't work. But you don't know whether, if it did work, maybe there was another option that would have worked even better, but you didn't do that yet. So realize that that's just part of the process. Like in marketing, we say, if you're putting out like 10 ads, like 8 of them are going to fail. Like that's just the way it is. You might get 1 or 2 good ones. It's the same kind of a law that seems to apply across human nature, I guess. VCs who are investing in companies, they're going to be investing in 10 companies. 1 of them is going to be amazing. 2 or 3 might do okay and pay for themselves, and the rest of them are going to fail. Like 6, 7 are going to fail, and they know the odds and they just play the odds of the game. It's the same whether you're creating videos. Like some are going to be way better than others in terms of content, talking to customers, working with clients. Like some of your customers on your Shopify store are going to be super into it and loyal customers and tell all their friends and rave about your products. Other people are going to be like, yeah, this is great, and I'll keep buying it for a while, but they're not really super loyal. And other ones are like, yeah, I don't really like this. Like, I'm going to go back to something else, or they're just changing for the sake of it because they want a shiny new product. That's just the nature of things. We can't get 100% perfection. Like it doesn't exist. And so if we keep trying to aim for it, or we keep punishing ourselves because we're not achieving it, aiming for it's fine, I guess, but realizing that we're never going to reach it is the name of the game. And most things can be changed as we go along as well. So if you think about, so Layla Hormozi has a great phrase. She calls it doing her shitty first draft. And so when she sits down to write something or do a process or whatever it is, like this is the shitty first draft. I know it's going to suck. I just have to do it, and you got to write it. You see the same thing in screenwriters or people writing books and that kind of thing. They just sit down every day and they write, and they know it's going to suck. When we write sales letters, so big long pages of text to get people to buy like information products and that kind of thing, or direct mail pieces, most good copywriters, we just write the first part and then we go back and we rewrite the first section and the headline and everything like that because it sucks. And you're like, that was just me getting into the groove of writing, and it will get better when I go and polish it the second time. You don't just sit down and do it perfectly the first time. And so do your shitty first draft, just get it out there, make the video, put it on the internet, have no one watch it, and it doesn't really matter because no one cares anyway. So that's fine. There's some things that are a little bit more permanent, like if you're making packaging for your product and that kind of thing, and you're getting retail distribution, then your packaging is going to be important to make sure that it's successful because that's what the person sees. So there's some areas where you want to put more effort because they're harder to reverse later on, and they're going to have a greater weighting in your success level as well. Whereas having your website perfect isn't going to make that much difference, because you can iterate and change that over time. So there's some things where you've got to decide, is this really a key driver in my business and I really have to get this right the first time, or close to right, so you put more effort into those things, versus is this something that's going to change and I'm going to be able to edit and get it right later on. Like, you're making those judgment calls, and that's what business is about, deciding where to put your time and resources into. You never have enough time and money to do everything, so what do you spend the time on that's most important, and making that judgment call. Some things don't need to change as well. So if you look at, I was interested because Red Bull, their story, like, it seems like they've been the same forever, kind of, and they're starting to introduce new flavors. I'm not sure that's a good idea, but hey, they're Red Bull, they're making billions of dollars. What do I know compared to them? But the original, so Red Bull was Procrastinating, if I'm saying that right, from Thailand. So that was started in 1976, and then Dietrich Mateschitz and Chelio Udvidya, hopefully I'm getting your name right. It's like Chelio was the one who founded it in Thailand, so he had a very successful company in Thailand selling Krathang, which literally means Red Bull, or Red Gao, I think it is the literal translation. And so Dietrich found it when he was there on a business trip and went, hey, this is great, I want to bring this to Austria and then the rest of the world. So in 1984 they formed the company, they launched in Austria in 1987. And so the packaging from the original Krathang, if you look at that, it has the two bulls together with the yellow circle around it and that kind of thing. So it's pretty similar in terms of but it took time to get that to what that point was, that Chelio worked on it, right? Then Dietrich took it and went, okay, now I'm going to put it in this can. So the can changed and that kind of thing, and probably picked pretty well. It's hard to find original cans and what it looks like. And then the Red Bull gives you wings slogan, like, that wasn't invented or published till about 1997, as far as I can find. Some things say 2003. So that marketing campaign has been running since 1997. Is it the best marketing campaign they could do with the cartoon figures and the Red Bull gives you wings slogan and that kind of thing? Who knows? But they've been consistent on it, and they've just kept going with it, and it works. Everyone knows it, and it's associated with the brand. And so sometimes, it never needs to be absolutely perfect. Like, maybe Red Bull gives you energy would have been way more successful, but it's boring and not as unique. So how do we know? How do we know which one was the better slogan without split testing it over millions of people? You simply don't know. You just got to put it out there and go with one and make a decision and do it. And so it's interesting, if you look at these big companies and how they evolved, it was a learning process. No one walked out the door. Like, Nike wasn't called Nike when it first started, it was called Blue Ribbon Sports, and I think it went for about a decade before it changed the name. There was no swoosh, that came in later as well. Like, these things happen over time, and so you have to give yourself patience to be able to work through the process, have a direction that you're going in, but focus on getting traction or the work that you're doing in front of you, and just get stuff out there, and that stuff, listen to the market, get the feedback, and then improve it. And so the final bit is the lesson from the Red Bull thing, and the other bit's like, don't change when you're bored, change when your customers get bored and it stops working. And so, like, I can get bored of making these videos really, really quickly and not want to do them. That's not when I need to change it. I need to keep drilling them and making them better and better and better, because that's going to be part of the process. And if I get bored of making them, it doesn't really matter. Like, if you want the long-term result of being famous on, I don't want to be famous on YouTube, but attract your market and be an authority in the space that I want to be, then I need to create these videos, and that's just the end of it. If you want to, like, build muscle, you need to go to the gym and lift weights and eat protein. There's no way around it. You just have to do the actions to get you to the end result. So just because you're bored of something, like, we live in this world where everyone's like, follow your passion and you should love every day, and if you love your work, you never work a day in your life. And there's some honesty to that, but also sometimes we just got to do the work and get stuff done. And so while we can sit around dreaming all day and having these big grandiose plans of what we're going to achieve, the only way we achieve them is actually by doing the work. So I think doing is probably the most important thing. And if you follow, kind of use the EOS model, go read their book and go, well, 10 years I'm going here, 3 years it looks like this, 1 year is what I want to achieve, and here's what I'm doing in the next 90 days to achieve that. It'll give you a good kind of stick your head up, look around, see where we're going. And every week you're checking in to see where you're going on your 90-day plan. Are you on track? Are you off track of what you're trying to achieve? You're moving in the right direction for it. And so think about where you want to go, but just get to work and start doing stuff. And you'll probably find that, throwing out some numbers there, 80% action, 20% planning, or maybe even 10 or 5% planning, the majority is going to be action that is going to get you there. So you really need to focus on that, but the continuous improvement to make sure what you're doing gets better every day. Hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next video.